We often mistake intelligence for performance. We look for the loudest voice in the room, the person with the biggest vocabulary, the one who always has a fast answer. But what if real intelligence doesn't compete for attention? What if it doesn't need to? Some of the most intelligent people you'll ever meet are incredibly easy to overlook because their brilliance shows up not in how they impress people, but in how they process people and reality itself. Today, we're breaking down 10 subtle signs of high intelligence. These aren't habits, they're not achievements, they're deep-seated behaviors that most people miss entirely. As you listen, keep a mental count. You may just recognize more than you expect. Let's start with the first group of signs, all about cognitive flexibility, the way they think. And the first one is fascinating. They can argue the other side better than you can. Imagine being in a heated discussion. A highly intelligent person doesn't argue to win, they argue to test reality. They have this unique ability to deconstruct an issue, see it from all angles, and then articulate the opposing viewpoint with stunning clarity and fairness. Sometimes they can explain it even better than the person who actually holds that view. Don't mistake this for weakness or being wishy-washy. It is profound cognitive strength. It means they're not emotionally attached to the victory of being right. They're fundamentally attached to the process of being accurate. Their ego takes a back seat to the truth. The second subtle sign comes down to three little words most of us are taught to avoid. I don't know. While many people will bluff or deflect to avoid admitting a gap in their knowledge, intelligent people use these words efficiently. It's a tool, not a weakness. They are acutely, almost painfully aware of the limits of what they know. This awareness doesn't make them slower thinkers. It actually makes them radically faster learners. Why? Because for them, false certainty feels dangerous. It's a dead end. It shuts down exploration. Curiosity, on the other hand, feels safer. Admitting you don't know something isn't a confession of failure. It's the launch pad for genuine understanding. It's the prerequisite for discovery. And the third sign is something you can hear if you just listen carefully to how they speak. They avoid absolute language. Their sentences are rarely punctuated with words like always or never. They don't see the world in rigid black and white terms. Instead, they speak in probabilities, in tendencies, in ranges. They'll say things like, it seems likely, or in most cases, or that tends to happen when. This is because they see the layers of nuance that others miss. They see the fine print of reality. To them, the world isn't fixed, it's conditional. It's a complex system of interconnected variables, and their language is simply a more honest reflection of that complexity. So, three signs from the first group: arguing from the other side, admitting ignorance quickly, and speaking in nuances. They all point to a mind that values accuracy over ego. So as you go about your week, look past the loudest voice. Look for the person who argues to understand, who isn't afraid of not knowing, and who respects the complexity of the world. That's often where the real intelligence is hiding.
Have you ever asked someone a question and been met with silence? A pause that feels just a little too long. It's easy to mistake that for confusion, for uncertainty. But for some, that silence is the sound of a workshop. Inside, multiple realities are being built and dismantled in seconds. They aren't just hearing your words, they're stress-testing your assumptions, feeling for the emotional subtext, looking for the question behind the question. When they finally speak, the answer that emerges isn't just a reaction, it's a conclusion. This is the first clue you're seeing a different kind of social processing. It's not about speed, it's about depth. This same process applies to how they listen. Most of us listen while queuing up our own response. Our brain is a waiting room for our own words. But a highly intelligent mind listens like a detective mapping a crime scene. They aren't just waiting for their turn to speak, they're trapping the structure of the conversation itself, the unspoken assumptions holding up an argument, the logical gaps you could drive a truck through. That's why their response, when it comes, is often shorter, but it lands with incredible precision. They've removed all the noise. And this is why they can seem aloof or distant in social settings. They're not antisocial, they're data efficient. Small talk, surface-level chatter, it's low signal. It offers little new information, so they disengage, not from a place of arrogance, but from a need to conserve the immense energy required for their kind of deep processing. They prefer one conversation that changes their mind over 100 that just pass the time. But this processing isn't just for social navigation. It's a survival system, constantly running in the background. It's a mind that functions as an early warning system. They notice the patterns before anyone else, the subtle shift in a colleague's tone that signals a project is about to go sideways, the tiny environmental inconsistency that hints at a larger problem. It isn't paranoia, it's that their brain is tuned to a higher frequency of pattern recognition. They see the faint outline of the future because they are masters of reading the present. This is how they sense trouble before it has a name. And when that trouble arrives, when pressure mounts or an insult is thrown, their reaction is different. Stress doesn't immediately hijack their behavior. For them, an emotion is a piece of incoming data. It's information, not an instruction. They feel the anger, the fear, the pressure, but they don't become it. They observe it, analyze its source, and then decide on a course of action. This isn't numbness. It's an incredible act of control, like a pilot holding a plane steady through extreme turbulence. And what fuels this entire system? What drives the deep listening, the pattern recognition, the emotional regulation? One fundamental trait: curiosity about the things others ignore. Where most people see normal, they see a puzzle. Why do people behave this way in this system? Why does this small, insignificant detail keep repeating? They are compelled to ask why, to pull at the loose threads of reality that everyone else walks past. To most of us, this is all just background noise, the hum of the world. To them, it's a signal. It's everything.
We tend to think of intelligence as a performance, a quick wit in a debate, the person who knows every capital city, the lightning-fast problem solver. We measure it with scores and celebrate it when it's loud and visible. But what if the most powerful form of intelligence is something else entirely, something quiet, something that doesn't perform but observes, something that doesn't just process information but interacts with reality on a fundamentally deeper level, a way of being that is less about knowing all the answers and more about navigating the profound uncertainty of not knowing? Because this kind of intelligence doesn't advertise itself, it's almost always misunderstood. We look for the fireworks, but the truest signal is a steady internal flame. So, let's pull back the curtain on all the lesser signs and focus on the one that matters most, the clearest marker of high intelligence and the single hardest one to fake. What is it? It's the habit of thinking about your own thinking. The technical term is metacognition, but let's forget the jargon. At its heart, it's the ability to become an observer of your own mind, to step back and watch the gears turn. People with this capacity operate on a different level. They catch their own biases as they happen. A thought like, "Oh, I'm dismissing that idea just because of who said it," might flash through their mind. They don't just feel their emotions, they interrogate them. They feel a spike of defensiveness in a discussion, and instead of lashing out, an internal process kicks in. It's a process driven by a quiet, persistent curiosity. It's the voice that asks, "Why did that comment bother me so much? What's underneath that reaction?" It's the discipline to wonder, "Am I missing something here? Is my perspective too narrow?" And perhaps the most crucial and difficult question of all, in this moment, am I defending my ego or am I defending the truth? Think about the profound difference that last question makes. It's the dividing line between being a prisoner of your own pride and a student of reality. Anyone can memorize facts, anyone can learn to sound smart, but it takes a rare strength to silently update your beliefs when presented with better evidence, to let go of a long-held conviction without needing to make a grand announcement. It's a quiet, internal pivot toward what is true rather than what is comfortable. This continuous self-monitoring is the clearest signal because it's not a skill you can cram for. It's not knowledge, it's a way of being. It's an ongoing process that reveals a person's humility, their curiosity, and their commitment to growth over being right. You can't fake this for long. Cracks will show,
An ego-driven reaction will slip out. A resistance to a new idea will betray the facade. That's why it's the ultimate tell. So in the end, intelligence isn't an IQ score. That's just one tool in the box. True intelligence is your interface with the world, with confusing data, with difficult people, with the unsettling nature of uncertainty itself. It is quiet. It is observant. It is, above all, adaptive. It doesn't need applause because its reward is clarity. It's a quality that's often misunderstood, precisely because it makes no demands for attention. It's just there, working. So as you think about these different signs of intelligence, which one of them do you value the most in yourself and in others? And if you want to understand where this all comes from, consider how this kind of awareness connects to your habits, not just your momentary behaviors. That's where the real pattern begins.